Hi everyone, my name is Julie Jeffers. I'm the nutrition coach here at Mighty Body Solutions, and today we're going to be discussing what are some healthy additions that you can make to your diet. And so why I wanted to make this video is a lot of times when our patients come to me and they're asking, especially if they're starting out on their nutritional journey, health journey, that sort of thing, the main question I get is, okay, I have this list of foods I'm not supposed to eat and I need to avoid. I know all that, but what can I do? And a lot of times, we're left feeling when we have those lists of, oh, avoid this, avoid this, avoid this, avoid this, we feel so stripped down to nothing, like we have no options. So I've always been a big proponent of focusing on what you can add rather than focusing too much on what to avoid. Because when we shift from the mindset of focus on what to prioritize rather than what to eliminate, it feels like we have more variety and it feels less restrictive. A lot of times we say, okay, I'm not going to have any dairy or any bread or any sugar, blah, blah, blah. One, if we end up having some, we beat ourselves up about it. And two, when we're told, okay, we're not going to have something, it is really, really easy for that to become the only thing we want because it's the only thing we can't have, that sort of thing. So if we focus on rather than saying, okay, I'm not going to have any dairy, I'm not going to have any bread, I'm not going to have any dessert. If you first focus on the mindset of, okay, before I have that, let me focus on having this, 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 and this first. And then if I have any room, if I still feel like I want some of that, then I'll have some. And it kind of helps even out the balance. You're prioritizing the stuff that's going to be more beneficial to your health, but you still get to indulge in your bad foods. But I like to call them more, fun foods, occasional foods, that sort of thing. Because this isn't about being perfect. This isn't about being super restrictive. It's about making changes that we can sustain lifelong. So, we're going to be talking about basic additions you can make in each of the different macronutrient categories. So that's going to be your proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. We need all of these every single day. I'm just going to talk a little bit about generally what kinds we should be consuming and typically how much for your average adult. So first we're going to get started with proteins. When it comes to this, I want you to focus on consuming complete proteins. So complete proteins are ones that contain all of the 9 essential amino acids. Basically, this just means these are amino acids that the body does not produce itself, meaning we have to get it through food. And being a complete protein means it contains all of the ones that we do not make. Examples of this are any animal product, whether it's meat, eggs, dairy, all animal products are complete proteins. If you don't like eating a lot of meat or you're vegetarian or vegan, there is stuff you can do. It just does tend to be a little bit harder. You definitely have to eat more as well. But there are a handful of complete sources of plant protein as well. So why do we need protein? Well, protein helps us stay full. It helps us maintain strength, helps us balance hormones. Those are kind of the top 3, big reasons why protein is really important. And so it's really good to try to prioritize eating protein with every single meal. And you might be asking, okay, Julie, well, how much do I need to eat? So generally for, typically healthy adults, healthy in the sense of no big underlying disease or chronic illness or that sort of thing, a typical adult should be eating around 90 to 100 grams of protein per day. If you're more active, that's going to be a higher amount. But if you're pretty, either lightly active or you're pretty sedentary, work a desk job, that kind of thing, it's going to be about 90 to 100 grams per day. And so this could look like 30 grams with each meal, or 30 grams at each meal in a high protein snack throughout the day. And so now you might be saying, okay, cool, but I don't want to have to measure out my food, or I don't want to have to use an app to track my grams of protein and all that stuff. I get it. I don't like doing that either. So it's really more about learning, getting your reference on roughly how much protein is in the portion size of what you're eating. So, for example, most lean meats, if you are eating about a 4 ounce portion, and for reference, one standard chicken breast is typically about 4 ounces. So you can just think of, if you picture, okay, one normal sized chicken breast, not one that's super huge, not one that's super teeny tiny, but a pretty standard sized chicken breast, that's gonna be your 4 ounces. So if you have a piece of salmon about that size, a piece of turkey about that size, a piece of steak about that same size, any of those are going to be ranging from like 25 to 30 grams of protein for that amount of food. So that helps you get a visual picture in your head of like, okay, I had within this range, and it cuts out the stress of like, oh, let me remember to log this, or let me remember to track it, and all that kind of stuff. For something like eggs, now those, a lot of times we talk about that as a good source of protein, and it is, but eggs aren't as high in protein as I think sometimes we think of. A standard chicken egg is 6 grams of protein per egg. So like in the morning, if you're relying on eggs as your protein source alone for breakfast, you would have to eat like 5 eggs if you wanted to hit that 30 grams of protein mark. So just be aware of that. You can pair it with other stuff, eggs and sausage, or eggs and bacon, or whatever you want, or eggs and yogurt, that sort of thing. And then, so I'm going to go through and discuss. I'm going to try to lay out as many examples as I can for protein, just to really let you know all the options that are out there. Now, is this a fully extensive list? No, but these are things I feel like they're pretty common. People eat quite a lot. So I'm just going to lay them out for you. So for meats, you have any form of beef, bison, lamb, pork, deer, any of your, hunting game meats, that sort of thing. For poultry, chicken, turkey, duck, quail, goose, any waterfowl. For fish, salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, herring, tuna, cod, more fish. I'm not a fish person, but like all fish is going to be a complete source of protein. For shellfish, shrimp, crab, crawfish, lobster, oyster, scallops, all that good stuff. For eggs, you can have chicken eggs, duck eggs, goose eggs, quail eggs, whatever you like, whatever you have. It's up to you. For dairy, if you can tolerate it, the higher protein dairies are going to be, your aged hard cheeses, stuff like that, not so much your soft cheeses. Cottage cheese is a really high protein dairy source, and then so is Greek yogurt. And then for plant-based options, if you can tolerate them, some people don't do well digesting grains. They can be a little bit rougher on digestion. But for complete sources of protein that are plant-based, this is going to be quinoa, buckwheat, hemp seed, and chia seeds. Those are your complete sources of protein. Now, this isn't to say that other plants don't have protein. They do. You're just not getting all of the essential amino acids in one food. For example, beans have protein, chickpeas have protein, even rice has protein. But in order to get all the essential amino acids, we have to combine them. So this is why you might eat the classic beans and rice. Those two are combined because together they make up all the 9 essential amino acids that you need. Whole grain bread with nut butter, that would get you all the essential amino acids. It's also important to note that the amount of protein in them is going to be way less per serving than, let's say, having some steak would be. Like, you would have to eat a lot of quinoa to get that 30 grams of protein in comparison to eating your, 4 ounces of steak. I think you would have to eat like 3 or so cups of cooked quinoa, which is a lot. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. So that's for protein. Moving on, we're going to talk about carbohydrates. So I'm going to say something. Some people know it, some people don't know it, and they're surprised. If you never knew this information, don't beat yourself up, because you can't get mad at what you didn't know. So we're going to talk about carbohydrates, and the ones I want you to prioritize and make sure you're getting into your diet if you're not already are going to be your vegetables and your fruits. Some people don't realize that vegetables are carbohydrates, because a lot of times we think of carbohydrates as, bad food necessarily. I personally, fun foods, but we tend to think of our bread, desserts, candy, pasta, all the sweet things, all the baked goods, that sort of thing. And those are carbohydrates, but vegetables are as well. Fruits are as well. They're all carbohydrates. So I want to talk about, why we need them, what kinds we should prioritize, and about how much we should be getting in a day. So, vegetables and fruits supply necessary micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, they supply antioxidants, and they supply fiber. So, all of these are very necessary to maintain normal bodily function. Our organs need those vitamins and minerals daily to carry out the functions just to keep our body running smoothly. And then antioxidants help protect from, damage we get exposed to, whether it's pollution, whether it's UV damage, whether it's, pathogens attacking our immune system. It helps us, fight off oxidative stress. And then fiber is really important, obviously, for helping us be regular, because when you're not going to the bathroom daily, that waste is getting backed up in your system. The longer it's sitting there, the more damage it can cause. So we want to make sure we're getting enough fiber, going to the bathroom daily. You want to typically have 1 to 3 bowel movements a day, kind of in a perfect world, have one, a little bit after each meal that you eat, because it's like a 24-hour cycle. So if you have breakfast, half an hour later, you should be removing the waste from the day's breakfast before, that sort of thing. So I want you to kind of focus on getting in about 6 servings of vegetables a day. And when I say serving, I'll break down what I mean by that. So if you're having cooked vegetables, that's going to be about a half a cup. Again, don't worry about measuring it, kind of eyeball it. You don't need to track anything to make progress. You don't need to track anything to make healthy changes. But if you can eyeball about a half a cup of cooked vegetables, that's going to be 1 serving. If you're eating fresh, raw vegetables, like, let's say salad, for example, if you're eating, raw carrots dipped in some, ranch or something like that, a full cup would be 1 serving. And so if we're trying to reach for that minimum of 6 servings a day, if you want more, that is fine. 6 to 8 is a great range for people to fall into. It is good to have a variety of raw and cooked vegetables. Some people are going to be more sensitive to raw vegetables, especially if it's cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower. Sometimes it can cause gas and bloating, stuff like that. So if that's just not for you, stick to cooked vegetables. But raw, a lot of times, is going to have more nutrients and vitamins and minerals, which is what we're wanting. So having a balance of, sometimes maybe you eat fresh cucumber, sometimes maybe you'll have some, carrots and some hummus, or sometimes you'll have a salad, but also having your cooked, sauteed or steamed or stir-fried vegetables, that's going to be easier on digestion and still going to provide that fiber. It's good to have a healthy balance of that. So in regards to what vegetables we should be eating, I want you to focus on kind of 2 categories. Your dark leafy greens, these are also going to be your great option for your raw vegetables, and then your brightly colored vegetables. So for dark leafy greens, this is going to be stuff like spinach, kale, arugula, all your kinds of lettuce, whether that's romaine, green leaf, red leaf, whatever, endives, escarole, bok choy, cabbage, mustard greens, turnip greens, collard greens, beet greens, Swiss chard. All of those are going to be great. So those are going to provide a lot of your antioxidants because of that dark green color. Additionally, brightly colored vegetables. So tomatoes, peppers, squash, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, red cabbage, eggplant, cucumber, carrots, beets, sweet potatoes, radishes. All of that is going to not only give you that fiber, but the different colors, you might have heard the phrase, eat the rainbow. That's important because the different pigments in those plants offer different health benefits. They have different phytonutrients, which serve different roles in our bodies. They have different vitamins in them. So it's good to get a variety of color when we're choosing the vegetables rather than saying, okay, well, I like carrots, so I'm just only going to eat carrots every single day. You need to cycle those nutrients. So just remember to choose that. And then when it comes to fruit, we want to have about 2 to 3 servings a day, trying to avoid eating dried fruits or fruit juices because a lot of those don't have as much fiber, the sugar is higher in a higher concentration, that sort of thing. So for this, it's better to have fresh whole fruits or frozen fruits or something like that. So serving sizes for fruits would be like a serving would be 1 medium fruit. So this is going to be your bananas, apples, orange, grapefruit, pear, peach, that sort of thing. The ones that are about like softball sized, I would say, is kind of your medium fruit. Would be a serving could also be 2 smaller fruits, so 2 kiwis, 2 plums, depending on how big. Sometimes plums can be really big. 2 apricots, 2 of the little, mandarin cuties, oranges, that sort of thing. Or a serving size could also be a cup of either cut up fruit or just small fruit like berries. So strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, grapes, cherries, and then for your larger fruits like a cup of pineapple or a cup of mango or a cup of watermelon, that sort of thing is going to be 1 serving. So again, you want to try to aim to eat 2 to 3 servings of fruit per day. So next we're going to move on to fats. So fat, I feel like, is something the diet world has demonized for a really long time, but we do need fat. Fat is an essential nutrient. Fat helps us to feel satisfied and full. Fat helps heal damaged arteries, helps create cholesterol, helps insulate the neurons in our brain to make sure our, brain synapses fully get to where they need to be. It helps us keep our skin moisturized, like the wax on our ears. The oil, if we get greasy hair, the oil serves a purpose, so we don't want super dry skin that's cracked. And if it's cracked and it open, that leads to, bacteria could get in, more pathogens. So we need oil, we need the wax, we need fats. So it is important to choose the right kind of fats. So good, healthy fats are going to be, if you're thinking ones that you're eating, not necessarily cooking, this is going to be olives, avocado, coconut, and then your fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, herring, and then for cooking, you want to use oils like extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, or ghee, which is clarified butter, or tallow. And you do want to make sure you're using it at the right temperature in which you're cooking. So avocado oil and ghee have a really high smoke point, which means they can be used for high heat. Coconut oil and olive oil can be used for like medium heat. So, if you're roasting stuff in the oven or if you're baking something, that's fine. And then lower heat, if you're doing like stir fry, that sort of thing, it's gonna be butter. Because of the milk solids in butter, it can burn. So that's just kind of like a brief overview on which oils to use and when. And then for other sources of fats, if you can tolerate nuts and seeds, they don't upset your stomach or cause you digestive issues, or if you just have a nut allergy, that sort of thing. Pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts, pecans, almonds, pistachios, hazelnuts, Brazil nuts. These are all really great options to give you, your healthy fats. And then, so that's all of our big macronutrient categories. The last food I want to food subgroup I want to talk about is foods high in probiotics. So, probiotics are the beneficial bacteria that we need in our gut to help maintain regular digestion. And so, these foods provide our gut microbiome with just the healthy bacteria it needs to thrive and make sure everything's running smoothly and help strengthen our immune system and all that. So, probiotic, some people take them in supplements, but it can be hard to find one that has all the benefits you need, or it can be really expensive. So, I'm a big proponent of eating foods that contain probiotics. So, my favorite is sauerkraut, and you want to get the raw fermented sauerkraut. It's always going to be refrigerated. It's normally in the deli section at most grocery stores, and a lot of times when it is fermented, and that just means traditionally prepared. There's not vinegar in it. It's not pickled. A lot of times the packaging will brag about the fact that it'll say like contains billions of live probiotics. That's what you want. It's really important if you are eating it for the benefits of probiotics to eat it cold or really gently heat it. Heating it too hot is going to destroy the probiotics, and then you'll still have the good taste of sauerkraut if you like that, but you won't have the probiotic benefits. Other foods include traditionally prepared fermented kimchi. If you're into fermenting yourselves, or if you know someone like at a local farmer's market, lacto-fermented vegetables, which is basically, it's the flavor of pickling without vinegar. So it takes longer because it's done with fermentation. Fermented drinks like kombucha, kefir, water kefir, tepache, all of those have probiotics in them. Cultured dairy products. So this is going to be anything that, like, if you're looking on the packaging, it says contains live and active cultures. That means there's probiotics in it. That's what we're looking for. If you are wanting yogurt for probiotics and you turn over the packaging and it never says contains live and active cultures, that's not going to have the probiotics you're looking for. So Greek yogurt, some cottage cheese brands contain live and active cultures. A style of yogurt called skyr. It's an Icelandic yogurt. That one a lot of times has the cultures that we're looking for. Again, kefir, it's like a dairy drink, fermented dairy drink. And then if you cannot do dairy, but you still want probiotics, a lot of the coconut milk yogurts have probiotics in them. So let's see, the brand Coco June and I know Coconut Cult both have active cultures in their yogurt. Again, if you're not sure, just always flip over the packaging. It'll be in the ingredient list. It should be at the bottom. It usually says contains live and active cultures. Sometimes it'll list out the specific cultures on there. But if it just says live and active cultures, okay, this product contains probiotics. And then a couple others, if you're in the more savory route, are going to be miso and tempeh. These are both forms of fermented soy. Fermenting gets rid of all the anti-nutrients and introduces the probiotic bacteria. And so this is the form of soy that's more beneficial. Otherwise, like tempeh's counterpart, tofu, they're pretty similar in texture and taste. However, the lack of fermentation, a lot of people have issues with soy because of all the anti-nutrients that are in it. So we just talked about a lot, and I want to say, try not to get overwhelmed. It's especially easy to get overwhelmed when a lot of the media we consume tells us that we need to only buy organic, only buy grass-fed, and it has to be, so few ingredients and blah, 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 blah. It gets so overwhelming and it makes the barrier of entry to health seem so high. I don't want you to worry about any of that right now. Doing the best that you can is going to be your starting point. Continually, if you get to a place where you can do a little more, that's awesome. As long as you are always striving to do the best that you can, no matter what that looks like, that is what I'm wanting. So don't think that you have to only shop at the farmer's market. If that is in your budget and that's something you have access to, that is phenomenal. But if it's not, and you just need to, go to the store and get the regular stuff that's not grass fed and not organic, that's great. It's better for you to do that than to do nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to, for produce, not worry too much about organic. If it is something, if it's something that's not in your budget, if you do want to be mindful of eating organic produce, you can go online and search up the Environmental Working Group, or the EWG. They make a list where every single year they test produce and come up with a list of the ones called the Clean 15 and then the Dirty Dozen. So the Clean 15 are the produce that have the least amount of pesticide residue. So it's kind of recommended you are fine to eat those non-organic and it's not going to have a lot of pesticides. The Dirty Dozen are the list of the ones highest with pesticide residue. So they recommend purchasing these organic, or if you can't do that, just avoid buying them at all. Also, you don't always have to buy your produce fresh. If it's just going to sit in your fridge and go bad, that's not worth it. That's a waste of money. So if it's more convenient for you to have stuff on hand in the freezer, pick what works for you. Fresh or frozen produce is just as effective as fresh. Pick what's going to work for you and your budget and your family. And then if you are having to buy, regular produce and you're worried about pesticides, just make sure to wash your fruits and vegetables. This isn't going to get rid of 100% of any residue that might be on it, but it will get rid of some. So for your softer flesh fruits and vegetables, this is going to be, make sure you wash them with water. Some people use a little bit of apple cider vinegar. For your firmer fruits, scrubbing them gently with like a soft bristle brush can help really knock off anything that they've been sprayed with. So that's your options for that. And then when it comes to meat, obviously some people are more concerned and really conscious of making sure their meat has not been raised with antibiotics or hormones or stuff like that. But those options a lot of time can be more expensive. So I want to let you know that when it comes to poultry and pork, the USDA does not allow the use of hormones in them at all. So if you are at the grocery store and you are buying the cheapest cut of chicken and the cheapest cut of pork, you can know that that still has not been injected with any additional hormones that just aren't naturally occurring in the animal itself. If you want to do a step up, any packaging of meat that claims antibiotic free, that is regulated, so you can know that, like, okay, there wasn't antibiotics used in this. Because I just want to let you know, spending the money to have it be organic does not necessarily mean that that your chicken lived its whole beautiful life grazing on grass and bugs and whatnot. They could still be tightly packed inside a giant barn with thousands of other chickens and never see the sunlight and eat organic corn and soy. So just know that do the best that you can, do the best that your budget allows. Always striving to do the best that you can is going to be enough. The best that you can might change and waver, and that's perfectly fine. That's normal, and everyone goes through that. But just striving to do that, let that be at peace with that doing the best is enough. You do not have to, you're not instantly going to be healthier or better or, helping yourself out more if you're waiting for, okay, once I can find organic, once I can find everything grass-fed, all that kind of stuff. So adding in these staples into your diet, if you're not already, are going to be kind of your baby steps into making healthy, sustainable lifestyle changes. So I hope this was helpful. I hope I was able to offer you a variety of options without being too overwhelming. And then I also hope I was able to kind of ease any feelings of, oh, I'm never going to be able to achieve this. Just as long as you're remembering, let me do what I can when I can, And that effort on its own is enough to make some changes in my health. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.